Israel's border with Lebanon was deceptively calm in early July 2006. Despite all seeming quiet on its northern front, underlying tensions were high. This is one of the most volatile front lines of the Arab-Israeli conflict. A place where there is always potential for a flare-up. This man understood that potential. In the summer of 2006, Israeli General Udi Adam, then head of Israel's Northern Command, ordered his troops on alert. He had received warnings that Hezbollah was planning to capture Israeli soldiers to exchange for its own prisoners held in Israel.
Between 1 week to 10 days, the level of the alert was very high. And then the intelligence go down and say to our unit, you can put down the level down. There is no afraid that it will be another kidnap in the north. So the level went down a few days before the kidnap.
With the stand down, Hezbollah spotted the opportunity to strike. The group was ready to activate a kidnap operation it had been planning for months. It would take place at this exact location. On the 12th of July, Hezbollah fighters infiltrated the border into northern Israel and ambushed an Israeli army patrol. In the attack, 3 Israeli soldiers were killed and 2 were captured. The captured soldiers were EHUD Golvasser and Eldad Regev. Hezbollah quickly whisked them away into Lebanon. Moti Moravi was in the same unit as the 2 captured soldiers.
It was 9 o'clock or 9:30 that I got a phone call from a friend in the unit that he was there. And he told me, did you heard about what happened? And I said, no, what happened? He said there was 2 friends of us killed and 2 friends were kidnapped. I said, no, you're kidding me. It's because it was the last day. This was the last day of the serving. It was like at 12 o'clock we had to finish, everybody had to finish the serving and went everybody home to his family.
Hezbollah leader HASSAN Nasrallah now had the cards he needed to begin the bargaining, and he spelt out the terms of the deal he was seeking.
The only way these prisoners would return to Israel is through indirect negotiations, prisoner exchanges, and peace. No one will be able to return them to their homes except through these conditions.
Israeli Prime Minister EHUD OLMERT was categoric, at least in public, that there would be no bargaining.
We have said from the very beginning that we will not submit to blackmail and that we will not negotiate with terrorists over the fate of Israeli soldiers. That has been our position in the past, and it is our position today.
Instead of negotiation, there was war. Israel launched a massive bombing offensive against Lebanon, leaving over 1,000 people dead, mostly civilians. More than 100 Israelis were also killed. Yet the fate of the 2 captured soldiers whose kidnapped had sparked Israel's offensive remained a mystery. It seemed there could be no other way than negotiations. WAFIQ SAFA is Hezbollah's negotiator. He has managed past prisoner exchanges with Israel, always conducted via international intermediaries. He now had a new mission.
Within a couple of weeks of the war ending, Hezbollah was contacted by representatives from a number of foreign countries, offering to play mediatory roles. But Hezbollah and Israel could not agree on a country, and the matter was passed on to the Secretary General of the United Nations. He then sent the German mediator, Gerhard Konrad, because of his previous experience with the 2004 prisoner exchange. And in September 2006, the negotiations began.
Working in the shadows, Gerhard Konrad began the arduous task of mediation, traveling between Beirut, Tel Aviv, and New York.
The German mediator is one of the most important players in this deal. I've never seen him before. Have you? Very few have. His pictures are never published in newspapers. He's a very mysterious man.
But Gerhard Konrad was known to one German journalist at Der Spiegel magazine who had tracked the diplomat's career.
The German mediator studied Arabic culture and the Arabic language when he was a student, and he later joined the German Secret Service, the Bundesnachrichtendienst, and then was posted both at the embassies in Beirut and in Damascus.
The Israeli negotiator was a man called Ofer Dekel, the former deputy head of the Israeli security agency.
The negotiations to reveal the fate of the soldiers and to determine the price for doing so continued for 6 months. Then the negotiations reached a dead end because we stuck to our demands and the Israelis stuck to theirs.
The families of the two captured soldiers were anxious for news on whether their loved ones were alive or dead. They formed a pressure group to lobby their government. OLMERT ordered his intelligence units to get some answers, but Hezbollah was giving nothing away. The fate of the two Israeli soldiers was an important bargaining card in Hezbollah's hands, and Hezbollah kept the Israelis guessing.
All analysis led to the conclusion that the soldiers were no longer alive, but no one could be absolutely sure until the final moment. And until the day before the exchange, there was still a possibility that the prisoners might still be alive. In that sense, Hezbollah succeeded.
In the operation, the Israelis couldn't obtain a single piece of information about the fate of the two soldiers. They were only able to study the weight, size, and quality of the bomb. Through this, they were then able to reach the conclusion that the two soldiers were dead. But they were surprised that another soldier in the same vehicle had been injured and had survived.
Hezbollah's refusal to disclose whether the Israeli soldiers were still alive meant Gerhard Konrad, the German mediator, needed to deploy all his diplomacy to keep negotiations moving forward.
The master plan, which is on the table by the mediator, is to find some sort of mechanism that would allow both sides to get a little bit of what they wanted without losing their face.
But getting both sides to agree was not easy.
Hezbollah made it very clear to the Israelis that they would not get any information for free. The German mediator was the one who came up with the idea of a two-phase exchange operation. The first phase was revealing the fate of the two soldiers in return for the bodies of our martyrs. The second was the actual exchange. Hezbollah did not agree to this and said that revealing the fate of even one of the soldiers had to be at a higher price, which is returning our prisoners alive. And the price they set was Samir Quntar and Marwan Barghouti. Israel did not agree to that. And the result was to bypass this stage and agree on a one-package deal.
Central to the so-called one-package deal was the release of Samir Quntar, a prisoner who had been detained since 1979 following an attack into northern Israel. Hezbollah also demanded the release of their captured fighters from the 2006 war and the remains of those who were killed in the conflict. But another Hezbollah demand for the release of Palestinian prisoners went too far for the Israelis.
Israel this time, unlike in past deals, said no. We would give Hezbollah only Lebanese prisoners.
It was planned as a symbolic gesture, and we didn't put forward any names. We only requested the release of women, children, teenagers, the ill, and the elderly. We left specifics to the Secretary General of the United Nations and the Israeli Prime Minister, EHUD OLMERT.
One of Israel's greatest fears is for NASRALLAH to become the man who strikes deals with Israel to free Palestinian prisoners. That was strongly rejected by Israel.
In May 2008, Nasrallah offered the first hint of an imminent exchange, and he seemed confident of the outcome.
The prisoners are our pledge. The prisoners are our promise. And very soon, Samir and Samir's brothers will be among you in Lebanon.